All right, we're going to look at doing or drawing our mortise and tenon joint in 3D. And so we're going to look at a few of the parameters in the information that is handed out to you before we start our drawing. So if we take a look here, we're going to start with our mortise, and the material is going to be 2 inches wide, 6 inches tall, and 15/16 thick. So let's start drawing, and we're going to start going 2 inches wide and 6 inches tall. Now that's really small, so we're going to use our zoom extents button, and we're going to come down another 6 inches, and I'm going to come over 2. Okay, so there is my piece that we're going to use. I'm going to now lay it down a little bit so I can use my push pull tool. So I'm going to lay it so I can see the surface. I'm going to use the push pull tool, and I'm going to pull that up, and the wood comes in at 15/16. So we're going to make it 15/16 for today. All right. Now to get this to look straight onto this again, you're going to come up here to camera, standard view, and choose top. And it'll snap back to that original face that we were working on. Now, if we come back here and look, our mortise is 5/16 wide, and it's going to start a 1/4 inch from each end. So we should be down a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch. So that gives us some parameters there. So we're going to go and find the center line of this piece. And that blue line is our center line. I'm just going to draw a line straight down for now. From this line, I'm going to come down a 1/4 inch, 0.25. And this line is the top of my mortise hole. I'm going to come down. Now we're going to have to do some math here. We don't know how big it. We know that 2 inches minus a quarter and a quarter is 1.5 inches. So we should have 1.5 inches tall opening. So we're going to come down 1.5 inches again, 1.5, and find that. And I'm going to come across again. This is the bottom of my mortise. Okay, so we've kind of laid this out. This is going to be where my mortise is. Now we're going to come over 5/16 of an inch. So we're going to have to, we have our center line. We're going to have to go over half of 5/16. Now you could do the math on that, but just double the bottom number, and that's what it is. So that's what half is. If we want to know what half of 5/16 is, we double the bottom number, and it's going to be 5/32. So I'm going to come over from my point. I'm going to come over 5 divided by 32, and I'm going to draw a line straight up. Same thing the other way, over 5 divided by 32, and draw the line up the other way. Now this is going to represent my mortise. So I'm going to come in here with my eraser, and I'm going to start getting rid of all these lines I don't need. Okay, so there's my mortise hole. Now I'm going to turn and lay this down a little bit so I can see the back side again. I can see the depth. And does it tell how far? We should be 3/4 of an inch deep. So we're not going all the way through on this one. This is still going to be a blind mortise and tenon joint. So I'm going to take my push pull tool, and I'm going to grab this, make it polka dotted in the middle, and push it back 0.75, enter. And that is going to be the mortise portion of the project. So now what you're going to do is we need to draw the tenon portion. You're going to need to label and dimension all of these pieces, but you might want to wait on that until you make a copy of it, because once you make a copy to assemble the two together, then you can label it. So I would either make a copy of this now or wait until we draw the other piece and then make a copy of both. However you want to do that. But you're going to need two copies, one that's assembled together and one that is not, that is all labeled and dimensioned. So I'm going to move over a little bit here, and we're going to draw another one. So this time, I think I'm going to lay this one on its side. So I'm going to draw this. I'm going to be in the same plane here. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to come back 6 inches, and I'm going to come down 2 inches. Rather than having to rotate this around so much later on, I'm just going to draw it laying down like this. Is that 6 inches? So that's not lining up. Okay, there we go. So that's closed in. Oh, I've got a little bit of a line there. I'm gonna have to zoom in and erase that. Okay, so there is my piece. I am now going to rotate this down a little bit so I can see it, and I'm gonna push it back 15/16. So we're gonna go back 15 divided by 16, enter, and now it has its depth. Now I'm going to be working on the end. So you might want to give yourself a little bit more room than I did here. So one thing I could do is I could give myself some more space by triple clicking that or drawing a box around it, making it blue. And I'm just going to move it over a little bit more so I can see the end a little bit more detailed. That red line means I'm straight over. So I'm still on the same plane as this surface here. I just have moved it over. Now I can zoom in to that end, and I'm going to rotate it around a little bit so I can see it. Okay. I'm even going to come in a little bit closer. That looks good. And this is where we're going to draw. So just like on the mortise, I'm going to find where center is, midpoint there and midpoint. And that's going to give me the parameters of the center line. Now, if I come over here and look, I have a 1/4 inch in and a 1/4 inch in. So I'm going to need to come in a 1/4 inch each direction, 0.25. Whoops, that's not it. And I'm going to draw this all the way across so we have it. I'm going to come in 0.25. Draw that all the way across and all the way across. So this is the length of my tenon now. Now my tenon should be 5/16 as well. Now in reality, it's going to be just slightly thinner than that, a little shorter. So we're going to go a 1/16 shorter. We're going to make it 15/16 still, but we're going to make it just a 1/16 of an inch shorter. That way, the reason the mortise is smaller than the mortise is bigger than the tenon is when you put that in there, you don't want this to be a tight fit and all the glue to ooze out. You want some room for glue to help adhere that in. So I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to make this, instead of coming out 3/4, like this hole went in 3/4, we should have this come out 11/16. That'll give us our 1/16 of an inch, but everything else is going to be the same, 15 or 5/16. So we're going to split the difference again. We're going to go up 5/32. And from 5/32, I can draw my line straight down to the other side. And I'm going to come down 5/32 and do the same thing straight down. And now I can erase everything that I don't need. So I'm going to get rid of all of these lines and these lines and the center line. Okay, so now if we rotate down a little bit, we should see just this. Now we don't want to change the size of our piece. So instead of pulling this piece out, we're going to push this one back. So we're going to push this back. What did I say? 11/16. And then it should snap in. Okay. So there is our mortise and our tenon drawn together in the same drawing. And if you want to, if you've rotated it around and you want to look at the front view, you're going to go camera, standard views, and choose top. That's where we started drawing. Okay. So now at this point is when you can make a copy, because you're going to label all of these pieces, and we need a copy to put together. So when you label, you're going to use this A1 text tool and point to what you want to talk about. But we're going to start putting these together, and you'll notice here, I'll show you an example. If we try to move one and we get it too close, and then we try to move it again and get it away, it kind of sticks together. You can't move them because they're stuck together. So what we want to do to prevent that is, before we start moving, is we're going to make each one a group. We're going to highlight all of these pieces, and you're going to right click on your mouse if you're on a PC. If you're on a Mac, you're going to control click and make it a group. And you have to control click right above the component there. And we're going to make it a group. And you can see it puts a little box around there so nothing can stick to that otherwise. So we're going to control click. I'm on a Mac, so I'm using control click, and I'm hovered right over it. And now I can make it a group. Okay, so now when I move these two on top of each other, they're not going to stick to each other because they're two different. It won't let them connect. So I'm going to have to do some manipulating to this. I need this to be rotated about 90 degrees. So on this one, I'm going to lay it down like this. I'm going to choose the rotate tool up here in the top. And I want to rotate, it doesn't matter from where. I'm going to say from this tenon here. And actually, I want to be on a corner. It'll make it easier. So I'm going to click this corner right here. And I'm going to come back here. And now I can swivel this around. If you look in the bottom corner, it tells you what angle you're at. And we're going for a 90-degree angle. Should kind of snap at 90 a little bit. So there we are. That looks good. And now we are in the same, or 90 degrees to each other. Now we can start putting these together. Now it might be beneficial to you to put just a little mark. This is the midpoint. If I just put a little mark there, okay, not very big. And if I put a midpoint marker on this one, and I can come in and erase this later. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here. Zoom right there. I'm going to come down and just make a line. What this is going to allow me to do, now those lines will connect to each other, but we're going to erase them in a little bit. We're going to highlight all of this, and including that line we just drew on there. And that's going to be my grab point. I want that line to match up with that line. So now I'm going to grab my move tool, and I'm going to select right there on that line, and I can move it right up to that line, and the two should line up and be correctly centered in there. Okay. I'm not sure what those little lines are from. We don't need, if there's lines, you could try to delete it as long as it doesn't delete the surface of the wood. I don't want that. No, it's because that's grouped together already. That's fine. Now these lines up here we can get rid of. We don't need that up there since we've got these put together now. Okay. So you need two copies. Remember, you need one that's assembled like this, and you need one that is separated and all of the parts labeled and dimensioned. So good luck with the activity. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this video helps.